All right, so listen to this. We're going to dive into the world of like a powerful female pharaoh
Oh, wow.
and a modern-day art mystery, all thanks to this book called The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis.
Okay.
It's historical fiction, but the details about Queen Hathorkair are actually rooted in fact.
Interesting.
So yeah, consider this a deep dive into both the real history and then how the author uses it to kind of weave a captivating story.
Yeah, I love that blend, having the real historical figures and events and then weaving in this like fictional mystery that keeps you guessing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with Hathorkair herself.
Well, okay.
She was married to Pharaoh Sekhmet,
Mm,
but here's the catch. Ancient Egypt was obsessed with male heirs,
right.
and she couldn't produce one.
Of course.
So when Sekhmet I died, his infant son from another queen was next in line.
Oh, wow. That's tricky. You can imagine the pressure and the power dynamics at play there.
Oh, absolutely. She
Yeah.
wasn't about to be sidelined.
Yeah.
She became regent,
Okay.
ruling in young Sekhmet II's place until he came of age.
Right.
But then after 7 years, she did something totally unexpected.
What's that?
She declared herself pharaoh.
Wow, that's amazing. And think about what that says about her ambition and the limits that were placed on women in that era.
Exactly. She ruled for 20 years, commissioning temples, expanding Egypt's influence, clearly not just a figurehead.
Right.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. After her death, Sekhmet II finally took the throne, and he tried to erase her from history.
Oh, wow. Really? It makes you wonder what he was so afraid of.
Right.
What did he stand to gain by silencing her legacy? Was it personal, political, or a little bit of both?
Such a good point. And that's what makes the artifacts connected to her so intriguing.
I bet.
It's like they're whispering secrets from a silenced past.
Totally. Like trying to piece together a puzzle where some of the pieces have been deliberately removed.
Yes. Okay, so there's this stunning statue fragment called the Cerulean Queen,
Okay.
made of polished lapis lazuli.
Beautiful.
Imagine this deep, vibrant blue, and the craftsmanship is incredible. But what really stands out are the lips.
Really?
They're so full and sensual, almost like they could speak.
I love that the author actually describes them as holding a hint of defiance, which, knowing Hathorkair's story, is pretty powerful. It's like the artist captured her spirit in those lips. But the fact that it's just a fragment is also intriguing. Like, was it destroyed by accident or intentionally?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Mm.
And then there's this elaborate, broad collar,
Okay.
basically like a fancy necklace
Uh-huh.
made of gold and glass.
Mm-hmm.
It's missing a Nefer amulet, which is kind of curious in itself.
Right.
But here's the kicker. Charlotte, the main character in the book, saw this very collar decades earlier while working on an archaeological dig.
Oh, wow. Talk about a blast from the past. What are the odds?
I know. It had disappeared lost after a shipwreck.
Wow.
And now out of the blue, it resurfaces as this mysterious loan to the Met.
Oh, that's wild.
It's clear that there are secrets surrounding this collar and its connection to both Hathorkair and Charlotte's past.
It's like someone's trying to send a message. But what is it? And who's behind it?
Exactly. And then there's this whole Hathorkair curse mentioned in the book.
A curse?
Is it just a legend, or is there something more to it?
Yep.
And how does it tie into the missing pieces of Hathorkair's story and the reappearance of the collar? The book really keeps you guessing.
Speaking of missing pieces, we also can't forget that the Cerulean Queen statue has been stolen. So now we've got a real-life art heist woven into the story.
Oh, yeah.
And it all seems to be connected to this, like, shattery organization called Mott.
And this is where Charlotte's personal story really gets interesting. Her time in Egypt is shrouded in mystery. She lost her husband and daughter in that shipwreck, or so she thought.
Right, and it seems like her past is about to collide with her present in a big way. There are hints that her husband might still be alive, potentially involved with this shady art theft ring.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
And then there's this whole other element, a hidden box found in a newly unearthed tomb,
What?
potentially belonging to Hathorkair.
No way.
They're using CT scans and all sorts of high-tech stuff to examine it.
Wow.
What secrets do you think it holds?
Who knows? But it certainly adds another layer of intrigue. The way the author blends historical details with this fast-paced mystery is really clever. It makes you want to keep turning the pages to see what happens next.
Totally agree. And we haven't even scratched the surface of all the twists and turns in this book.
I bet.
We've got powerful female pharaohs, mysterious artifacts,
Mhm.
a possible curse, a shadowy art theft ring.
Wow.
There's something here for everyone.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into Charlotte's past in Egypt and her quest to uncover the truth. which might be more complicated than she ever imagined.
So last time we left off with questions swirling around Hathor legacy, that intriguing broad collar, and Charlotte's mysterious past in Egypt.
Right, so let's go back in time with Charlotte to the 1930s.
Okay.
Picture the scorching desert, the bustling Cairo markets,
Mm.
the thrill of unearthing ancient treasures.
Yeah.
The book really brings that era to life.
Oh, it does. It's like stepping into a classic adventure film.
Yeah.
You can almost feel the sand between your toes and the excitement in the air as these archaeologists dig into the past.
Totally. We meet Charlotte fresh out of college, eager to make her mark in Egyptology. She lands a job as a note-taker for a renowned archaeologist, which, let's be honest, doesn't sound super glamorous.
Right. But it's a foot in the door, and it gives her access to something truly extraordinary, the chance to be part of uncovering history firsthand.
And that's where she encounters that broad collar we talked about earlier. Talk about foreshadowing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But perhaps even more pivotal is her meeting with this dashing young archaeologist named Henry Smith Sparks. Fly amidst the ancient tombs, and they fall head over heels.
Ah, young love and ancient history. What a combination.
I know, it sounds almost idyllic, but of course things are never that simple.
Yeah, that's true.
Charlotte gets pregnant, which in the 1930s especially, in a field as physically demanding as archaeology, presents all sorts of challenges.
Absolutely. Back then, expectations for women were very different. The book really explores this conflict between Charlotte's personal ambitions and societal pressures.
Yeah, and that's not the only conflict brewing. There are these hints of trouble in paradise. Charlotte feels stifled.
Yeah.
Henry seems to be keeping secrets, and there's this looming presence of a character named Leon, who we know from the present-day storyline is up to no good.
Right. The author does a great job of dropping those little breadcrumbs, hinting at a darker side to things without giving too much away. It really keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It really does.
Yeah.
It seems Henry and Leon were involved in some shady dealings, potentially smuggling antiquities.
Really?
Was Henry in over his head? Was he forced into it? The mystery deepens with every page.
And then out of nowhere, disaster strikes the shipwreck.
Right.
It's described as chaotic, terrifying, a desperate fight for survival. Charlotte is separated from Henry and their baby daughter Lila, swept away by the currents of the Nile.
It's a truly heart-wrenching scene.
Yeah.
And for decades, Charlotte believes they're both gone.
Right. But as we know from the present-day storyline, someone survived.
Right.
It's a question that lingers throughout the book. Is Henry still alive? If so, where has he been all these years? And what role did he play in the events surrounding the broad collar?
So many questions. And just when you think it can't get any more complicated, we find out that Leon is alive and well, working as a tour guide in Luxor.
Which, knowing his shady past, seems a little too convenient.
Right. You have to wonder what he's really up to.
Yeah.
And the book leaves us hanging, not revealing his true motives. It's clear that Charlotte's past is far from settled, and that going back to Egypt is going to force her to confront some uncomfortable truths.
Absolutely. The past has a way of catching up to you, doesn't it? And it seems like Charlotte's past is about to come crashing into her present.
For sure. Speaking of the present, let's not forget about Annie, the young woman who accidentally unleashed that plague of moths at the Met Gala.
Oh, I won't soon forget that. It was a disaster, but it
Yeah.
ultimately brought her and Charlotte together.
Exactly. And their connection goes deeper than just moths. It turns out Annie's father was a security guard at the Met, and they both shared this special fascination with the Cerulean Queen statue.
Oh, that's nice. It's like the museum represents a connection to her late father. So
Yeah.
it's no wonder she feels so strongly about what happened, and it makes her decision to help Charlotte even more meaningful.
I agree. They're both dealing with loss and a desire to uncover the truth. It's a powerful bond, and it ultimately leads them both to Egypt.
And that's where things really start to heat up. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll follow Charlotte and Annie as they dig deeper into the past, uncovering secrets and facing unexpected dangers in their search for answers.
Okay, so we're back, and Charlotte and Annie have arrived in Egypt, ready to confront the past and hopefully uncover the truth about Henry and Lila.
It's such a pivotal moment in the story. They've come so far, but the biggest questions still remain unanswered.
For sure. So they track down Leon, hoping he'll finally reveal what he knows.
Right.
But of course he denies everything. Claims he made up the whole story about Henry being alive.
Oh.
Yeah, but Charlotte isn't convinced. She senses that he's hiding something, and their confrontation is just filled with this unspoken tension.
Yeah.
Like they both know more than they're letting on.
Right. And remember that whole Hathor curse thing?
Oh, yeah.
Well, right after their meeting with Leon, there's this freak accident at the dig site. Part of a tomb collapses, and guess what they find amidst the rubble?
What?
A hidden chamber.
No way.
Sealed for centuries, and inside they discover a canopic jar bearing Hathor-Khair's cartouche and several mummies. Talk about a historical jackpot.
I know. It's like the kind of discovery archaeologists dream about.
Totally. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
One of the mummies has a crossed arm, which according to legend is how Hathor-Khair was buried.
Oh, wow. It really sends chills down your spine.
Yeah.
Could it really be her? The author keeps you guessing.
She does. She masterfully builds the suspense.
And to solve the mystery, they use CT scans.
Oh, wow.
This amazing technology that lets them examine the artifacts and the mummies without causing any damage. It's like ancient history meets modern science.
I love that.
Right. And the results are incredible.
Yeah.
They scan the canopic jar and they find a human tooth.
Really?
Remember how Hathor-Khair's statue fragment was missing a section of the jaw?
Yeah. It's almost like the pieces are starting to come together like a puzzle.
Exactly. And then they scan the mummy with the crossed arm, and guess what?
What?
There's a gap in the jaw where a molar would have been a gap that perfectly matches the tooth from the canopic jar.
Oh, wow.
It's like finding that final piece of the puzzle, confirmation that they found Hathor-Khair.
Wow.
It's a truly remarkable moment in the book, and it feels like a huge victory, not just for Charlotte, but for Hathor-Khair herself, whose story is finally being heard.
That's beautiful. And with this discovery, the curse seems to lift. Charlotte's nightmares fade, and she feels this sense of peace, like she's somehow honored this powerful queen who was silenced for so long.
Right. But of course, she still needs answers about Henry and Lila. She can't shake the feeling that Leon knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
And then there's another twist. Remember that art theft ring, Matt? Well, it turns out that Leon might be involved with them.
Oh, no. It's like every time you think you're close to unraveling the mystery, another layer is revealed. The author keeps you constantly guessing.
I know. Just when Charlotte starts to lose hope, Annie stumbles upon a clue, a letter from Leon, mentioning a unique location.
Oh, okay.
And guess what? There's an art gallery in Cairo called the Farid Gallery. Farid means unique in Arabic.
Wow, talk about a light bulb moment. It's those little details that really make this book so clever.
I know. And it leads them straight to the gallery owner, Mona, who, surprise, surprise, is Leon's daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she's the one who stole the Cerulean Queen statue.
Really? It's like all the threads of the story are starting to connect, but the why still remains a mystery.
Well, it turns out Mona has this vendetta against Charlotte. She blames her for her father's downfall and wants revenge. And here's the bombshell. She reveals that she knows where Charlotte's daughter is.
What, after all these years, could Charlotte finally be reunited with Lila?
That's the question that drives the rest of the book. Unfortunately, Mona clams up, refusing to give any more information. But the author doesn't leave us hanging completely. Charlotte, with Annie's help, does eventually find her daughter, Fatima, living a peaceful life in a small village.
Oh, that's wonderful. And the reunion is everything you could hope for, emotional, heartfelt, and filled with a sense of closure. It's the perfect ending to Charlotte's personal journey.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And while there's still some unanswered questions about Henry, it's clear that Charlotte has found peace and a sense of family that she thought was lost forever. The Stolen Queen is more than just a thrilling mystery. It's a story about lost resilience and the power of family ties that transcend time and distance.
It's definitely a book that stays with you long after you finish reading, and it makes you think about the power of history, how it shapes us, and the secrets that it can hold.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So if you're looking for a captivating read that blends history, mystery, and a touch of romance, I highly recommend The Stolen Queen. You won't be disappointed.
And who knows, maybe it'll inspire you to take a deep dive into your own family history. You never know what fascinating stories you might uncover.
Such a good point. But that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and remember, the past is never truly gone. It's waiting to be rediscovered.